Are you curious on business disruption? What are the key drivers of change today? And how businesses are repositioning for a better tomorrow, maximizing growth internally? Hi, I'm Peter Nichol, Data Science CIO. Today, we're going to talk about business models and business model disruption. There's 5 main principles I wanted to cover that really help define how organizations today are driving disruption inside and outside their organizations. But before I get into that, I want you to think for a second if you can consider and document, 3 different examples for each of these principles. If you can, that's great. Probably your company's well on the way for not getting disrupted. And if you can't, it's probably that you're doing some lip service for some of these concepts, but you don't necessarily have these principles mastered. So first is IPA, or Intelligent Process Automation. Essentially here, we're trying to take the robot out of the human. And it's a automation workflow that sits on top of robotic process automation, or more of a system automation orchestration. And if you're able to automate some of those workflows, you free up employees and start to have some big benefits. Second is simply streamlining operations. And really, we're talking about removing the waste. And through lean manufacturing and Lean Six Sigma modernization initiatives, we're trying to document our business process to allow us to be able to automate them. If you've ever done anything with robotic process automation or intelligent process automation or robots, you realize that you can't really do that much if you're not able to already look at something that's pre-documented and then automate it. Automating a process that's not well documented is extremely difficult. Third is business process outsourcing. It's taking a look at what are your core capabilities as a business and what are capabilities that are supportive or maybe ancillary to your core operations. Help desk is a pretty classic example where it's important and you need to make sure you have those IT supportive structures in place, but probably being number one in the world competitively is not going to really create a competitive advantage for you. It's not going to be a differentiator. Fourth is analytics. It's digital analytics, trying to come up with new ways to make intelligent decisions. And as a result of these decisions, you start to get new insights. And through the new insights, new growth and opportunities start to be created. And fifth is how you manage and orchestrate your business. When you start to think about who's on point or how does change get rolled out through the organization, you start to think about all the different functional leaders that have to be involved. And this is where the business relationship management role comes into play. It really doesn't matter if you call them service managers or account supervisors or relationship coordinators or directors or what the title or level is. What's most important is that you have a role that provides a liaison into those different organizations to help orchestrate and accelerate business adoption and business change. So what are the 3 main drivers of disruption? The first driver is just disruptive ideas. So it could be a new technology. It could be a new process. The second is, are you really driving value? So you introduce a new technology or a new process, like what's the outcome? What do you try to achieve? And are those results actually being measured? And lastly, it's lowering cost. A lot of organizations say, well, our focus is time to market or quality of the product. But in the end, if you provide a product that's so out of the market space and so expensive, you're not going to be viable or be competitive. So cost and being able to lean out the waste or remove excess non-value add activities becomes essential. So what are 2 areas to focus on to make sure that you're positioned in a good place for change? The first is take a look at your organizations if they're really siloed based. Are they all functionally led? If you look at your org structure, is it infrastructure and marketing and finance? It's a pretty good indication that you have a vertically organized group and you're probably not optimized for change. The second is how change rolls out through that organization. And more specifically, are outcomes shared? Let's say, for example, you have a new system to be modernized and there's some new business processes that have to be remediated. How many people will be involved in those discussions and that process? And are they really measured on their function, how effectively they did quality testing or requirements? Or are they measured on the outcome as a collective whole? if they are measured as a collective whole, you start to realize that change and change adoption and absorption becomes much more fluent and gets adopted a lot quicker through that organization. So where do we need to focus? I want to focus on 3 highlights. First is making sure you're linking your capabilities to what you're doing operationally, and it underpins it. So if you have core capabilities, how are they operationally being supported? Second is to make sure that you assess your talent. What's a talent pool look like? Have you linked those resources to your target operating model and your future vision of that future state, and how those resources are going to help support that? And lastly, double down on the BRM role. A lot of the different opportunities with disruption and organizational change really depend on a coordinated effort to get that change adopted and be sticky and kind of resonate through the organization. And the business relationship manager role is a great way to do that. So as you're thinking about rolling out different changes and considering the level of disruption going on in your organization and how well positioned your company is, think about what we really value as an organization. And then consider, have our investments really delivered what we intended? The impacts that we expected, are they getting realized? If they are, great. If they aren't, probably warrants another reflection on how to be a little bit more strategic. Hi, I'm Peter Nichol, Data Science CIO. Have a great week.